Welcome to a new episode of Saucy. All right, y'all, because truly the secret sauce is you. And I'm feeling pretty saucy tonight, y'all, because I'm going to be talking grown woman stuff tonight. I have got some youngsters, some young ladies hanging out with me tonight. And we're just going to see what we're going to fall into. All right, we're going to just see where this conversation takes us. But I want to first say welcome to Saucy, my show producer, Tara Rogers of Cultural Society LLC, also to Shamika Braxter of Braxter Initiative LLC. Thank you, ladies, for hanging out with me tonight.
Happy to
Yes,
be here.
thank you.
Shamika, come on, girl. Come on, talking to the microphone. Talking to the
Hey,
microphone.
hey, what am I talking about, Christy Taylor? What do you want me to talk about?
Well, first of all, we're gonna blame you for tonight's episode because we had a phone call about a week or two ago after the new year, and you wanted to just kind of thank me, for, I guess you were in a spirit of gratitude, and kind of tell us how we got to this place of me relaunching Saucy.
Okay, so we talked about so much stuff. Our conversation went down a rabbit hole of creativity and things. And I was she her
Mm,
Christy's storytelling is impeccable.
yes.
So when she goes into advice mode, she goes into storytelling mode. So I was telling her about a panel that I have called Through My Eyes, The Heartbreak of Generational Disconnection. And she was pretty much giving
Wow.
big sister advice in regards to my career goals. And she said, you have to go through it sometimes to get that wisdom. And I think sometimes we want to know everything at once. And we
Hmm.
live in a generation that's so microwave and we want to know everything. So she started giving me that generational wisdom of, everything's not going to happen overnight, especially like if you're building a media career, it's going to take time. And
Hmm.
I was like, but the way she was phrasing it, it was like she was telling a story. I said,
Hmm.
Christy, you need a talk show. And then she was like, let me tell you about all the stuff I got. And I didn't even know. I said, you
Really?
speak, like, it's like you're telling us, it's almost like somebody bringing you, back in the day, the grandmother's just like, baby, let me tell you about our roots. Like,
Right.
it was like
Where you
that
come from?
ancestral. Yes, I was like, it's almost like a monologue when I said, okay, you need to. She said, I got you. I'm like, what?
And
So
I said,
and we're here now.
one of the things, and I said, and the one I said, now she knows I've done radio. I'm still doing right on radio 87.7 and Bumper 96.3, my weekly public affairs show, River City Roundup, which Tara Rogers is my show producer. And I have also, because of you, Shamika, I've even shared with her more of the things I want to do through Radio Girl Media and Films. So you two ladies are perfect for tonight because y'all are getting me up out of my comfort zone. Okay.
Yeah, we got to get up out of it. We got to move. Like sometimes we have the idea, but the idea has to be put into action because you do the world a disservice when you sit on your gifts.
Ooh,
Ooh, that is heavy.
that is heavy. Okay, so Shamika, let's kind of, for those who may not know, and honestly, while you say I'm a storyteller, you have lived a very full life, and you already in your 30s have a beautiful story that's unfolding. So kind of give us who you are, whatever you want to talk about, sis.
Oh, we got time. Let's go back to my childhood. So, I was born in the Whitehaven community. So I am a product of Memphis. Grew up in Shelby County schools. But I must say, as a child, I feel I had a limited vision and a limited view of the world because I was only exposed to certain things. Because if you don't go outside of your community and you're only exposed to your environment, you can only dream so big. So my junior year of high school, like I was a C average student. My junior year of high school, one of my teachers, like I wanted to go to college. One of my teachers told me, why do you want to go to college? You're not college material. And also
Wow.
to add to that, I also grew up with an incarcerated father. So, the world beats you up. I knew I needed something. I just didn't know what I needed. At one point, I said, I need to go to the military because I need structure because I didn't know how to get what I needed. And I just, my dad, before he passed away, made me promise not to go to the military. And I ended up, despite that teacher, I ended up going to college. I ended up going to TSU. Initially, I told you guys I was C average student. So
Right.
initially I wanted to go for psychology, but I had to take remedial. Now, if you went to college, you got to take remedial courses to get on track. So I had to take remedial courses because in order to do PowerPoints in the psychology program, you had to be like a good, like you had to pass those remedial courses. So I don't know why, it must have been destined, but I ended up majoring in mass comm and eventually dual majoring in psychology. So I ended up getting a degree in communications and psychology from Tennessee State University. Came back home to Memphis, but my view of the world had changed. Specifically, the pride that came from going to an HBCU, seeing people dressed up, seeing people excited, seeing people tackle courses, seeing people in organizations, seeing people that looked like me that were striving for excellence gave me a different view of the world. So I,
Wow.
I came back to Memphis, and I'm just, looking at, because I feel like we always have to insert ourselves in spaces where that don't exist. So a lot of the things that I'm working
When
on,
you say
like
we, Shamika, are you saying like when you say we?
people,
Yeah.
people. Like if you know that there's a need, like Saucy, for instance, Christy
Mm-hmm.
saw a need, she said, I'm gonna make it happen. With me, a
I'm
lot of
through,
people know
Christy.
me for podcasting. They
Mm-hmm.
don't know I'm a life coach. They don't know that I have a series called Through My Eyes, The Heartbreak of Generational Disconnection, which is a panel that reconnects people amongst generations. Because although I love technology, I feel like technology can keep us divided. So through that panel, I'm hoping to reconnect us amongst generations. So the last panel I did, we had a therapist, we had two youth organizations, as well as a youth from, what is it, Gen Z? Is it
Yes.
Gen Z?
Uh-huh.
The
Uh-huh.
newer. Yeah, so we had a youth from Gen Z, and instead of us doing a one and done, we're keeping the conversation going, because I think a lot of people do things and they're grand, but in order for real change to happen, the conversation has to keep continuously going. And we also have our Love, Lust, Sacrifice series. I read a quote years ago that said, lust feels like love until it's time to make a sacrifice."
Ooh.
And it's really intentional, loving somebody on purpose and intentional love. Our last panel, we had a married couple as well as two divorcees, and they just discussed what love looks like on both ends. So I'm
What were
super
some of the
excited.
things they said though? I mean, I'm interested. I didn't
Um,
get a chance to catch the panel, but what were some
okay.
of the things they said what loves look like?
Love looks like, so Dr. Amelia and Danny Cole have been married over 30 years, and they were the married couple that was on our panel. And love looks like standing the test of time through the tragedies and through the love, because it's not always going to be a good season. And something Pastor Danny stated was one of the biggest hardships they had in their marriage is when his wife's brother died.
Oh, wow.
So knowing that you have to be there for a part, because I may have a wonderful day. My spouse may be going through it. How
Mm-hmm.
do I sacrifice myself to be there for this person that I love? Because we live in and I'll be honest, we live in a selfish society that says what's in it for me. But you have to sacrifice you for us if you want to sustain love. So
Okay, I'm
it
gonna
was
jump in. I'm gonna jump in right there because I do know that couple. Follow them for years.
yes.
They're definitely pro black love, pro marriage, solid Christian principled couple. However, I'm challenged when I hear these conversations because everybody doesn't come to marriage or relationships with the same belief systems.
Can I interject? So
Yeah.
How do you?
my friend and I, Kimberly, she created this show. She said, I want to document 100 real love stories in Memphis. Danny and Amelia actually were the first couple I actually got a chance to interview. So their backstory, we talk about like you told me, Christy, you said it takes time to get to this point. So Dan and Amelia have been married for 30 years. And if you check out 100 Real Love Stories, you'll see their initial story. So they talk about the beginnings, the hardships, the rough times, and all that they fought through to get to this point. And a lot of people aren't willing to do the fight. They just ready to give up. And I think love sustains the test of time because people are willing to endure the hardships as well as the good, because
Do
it
you
was
think that's
good
a
and bad.
Southern thing that we still believe in fighting for marriage or relationships?
I
Or,
don't. I think people are I think society is so caught up in social media that we lose sight of what it means to really love somebody and really grow with somebody and really fellowship and really have closeness. Even if we don't talk about romantic love, even if we talk about family, back in the day, family meant something, but a lot of us have gotten away from family. It's like we don't know what it really means to love somebody.
And I know that social media has allowed us to be very introspective and only think about ourselves. I mean, even when you're looking at the phone, you're looking at yourself. You're talking to people, but you're talking in the phone, in the reflection, looking back is yourself. Do you
yeah.
think that we become more lovers of self? That's how we got away from the love of family, the love of relationships. Do you think those are the values we've lost?
Yes.
And social media played their part.
Absolutely. And do you guys social media, some of the commentary I've heard is I don't need nobody. I'm fine alone and this, that, and the third. And you guys know I told you about like I was a psych major as well. So did you guys know isolation is one of the leading causes of death?
Yeah.
Isolation causes diseases, and a
Mhm.
lot of people are self-isolating with their rhetoric of I need no one, but yes, you do, because being around people actually expands your lifespan.
Mhm.
So we
Right.
need each other
Mhm.
to survive, like literally and figuratively. We need each other to survive.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in here and we're gonna go through what generation we're in. Okay, so y'all know, you two ladies know, I just had my 60th birthday, December 30th. Yay me! And so I'm totally at the top end of Gen Z. I mean Gen X, at the top end of Gen X. And a lot of what y'all are talking about is like, I remember where a lot of those philosophies started coming into view. Um, I'm 60, never been married, no children, live alone, don't even have a dog or a cat or a fish. But I am a introvert by nature, even though I've had a public life. But even doing radio, many people say they've heard me and never met me. So even with my media career, I wasn't like out and about. I think since post radio, particularly since 2019, more people have seen me and I've been more public than ever before, but that's partially because I've been moving more into television and film, and that is a very collaborative form of entertainment. So when it comes to relationships and these kind of conversations, and I got to also say, because I am, at the top end of Gen X, that I was here when the internet was first introduced to the populace, and what we now know as social media came on board, when we had before MySpace, before when you first
What was
got your
that
first
AOL CD?
yeah, AOL and then
Yahoo and Hotmail.
Yahoo, and I had my first two emails were Hotmail
Mhm.
and Bigfoot, and my mom literally said, "Why it gotta be hot?"
Like, why? Why was it hot? I mean,
Okay, come on,
regular mail was just
so
mail. This was hot mail. This was
It's
coming
hilarious.
across the wires.
you hear me?
Oh, that
So,
makes sense.
and the reason I'm saying that is because while we were, and I think a lot of people who are Gen Xers kind of feel the same way, and definitely the boomers, but definitely Gen X, because we were there, graduating in class of 83. So early 80s, riding through those 80s into those 90s. And y'all know every beautiful thing that happened in the 90s, baby. What? That really has laid the foundation for so much. But we never got addicted to online relationships like younger generations, because we
Mhm.
still well, first of all, Gen X is the most disassociated and overlooked of all the generations, because we chuckle and laugh on how people jump from the baby boomers to the millennials until Gen Z. And I have this one guy I follow on Instagram. I think his name is BMO the Prince. And he does generational skits where he has all of them talking to each other. And Gen X is always like, don't include me in this.
Yeah, like we're not riding with that. Like
We
I don't
ain't
know
riding
who
with
came
none
up
of
with
it,
that,
okay?
but we're not going.
We're not. We're so disassociated. But we were the first set of children too, who oftentimes were the latchkey kids who were able to be at home, and like I said, we would ride bikes and be home before the street lights are out. We didn't have phones and none of this stuff. So a lot of the high level of addictiveness to technology we don't have, because we still had cassette players and vinyl records, and we were the first ones that saw block brick phones, and when the internet rolled out and the BlueBerry and all that. So I think our connection to technology is very, very different, because it rolled out when it came to work. So I think many of us still see it like it's just a tool,
It's
y'all.
just a tool, yeah. And the next generation, the millennials, because I'm like at the end of Generation X and the millennials coming into the millennials, and we did have cell phones like in like beepers, and then we started getting cell phones. But we, like you said, we didn't have that attachment to it. It was more like a tool. But I do see, just based on research studies, there is a demographic of individuals who will never know what a secret is, based on how technology has expanded. So they won't even have that. Like we used to have chain letters and diaries and things like that. Now they're so addicted, and they're addicted because society made them addicted. There are people who go to college to make you addicted to the internet. That's a graduate degree or a doctorate degree in that field, to keep you indulged in that level, a deep relationship with social media.
That's interesting. Okay, so I'm at the top end of Gen X. You're at the top end of the millennials. And Shamika, it sounds like you're smack dab in the middle of the millennials. Am I right?
I am. I'm in the middle of the millennials, and I remember when I was in college, Facebook came out, and when Facebook initially came out, it was specifically for college students. But
Hmm.
I think one of the issues is, of course, when a generation dies out, we know during COVID, everybody died out. Well, so many people died out, and they introduced new things were introduced to society. So kids come out the womb scrolling, like
Yeah,
you
they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
sticking a
do.
baby, sticking a I'm sorry for laughing, but they do.
You're
They
telling the
little
truth.
babies just scrolling. Somebody I read online, somebody took a tablet from the baby, and the baby just was in tears. The baby was
Yeah.
just in shambles. Like, why are you doing this? The baby didn't understand it. And also, I read another study where a mother took phones away from her children, and her kids experienced anxiety for the first few hours of the trip because they were so used to having their phones, and then over time they got used to not having the phone. But initially, because grown so attached to our phones, we had landlines
Yes,
when
with a
I was a
cord.
Hey,
kid.
with the cords, honey, with the cords.
You
When I
want to
was a
find the phone?
kid,
Follow the cord.
right? So you had to wait home, and it's something about, I think, society. The thing, and we had also TGIF on TV, like where Family
Yes.
Matters came. Like we had to
Yes.
wait. Now everything is so quick, and I actually enjoyed, like, when I think about it, back in the day when you had to wait on Friday to come so that you can anticipate a show, watch a show, and then wait until the next Friday for another. Like, I feel like we're over stimulated
Stimulated.
all
Yeah.
the time.
Overstimulated. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because, okay, like I said, I had a public career, but because of radio, I still could live my very hermit life. And unless you heard me speaking, and and I had that incident happen a couple of times. I would be out and could be talking, ordering food, and someone said, "Are you Christy Taylor?" Had never seen
Mhm.
me, but knew my voice. Other than that, when it came to just my solitary, into myself life, I keep myself very amused. And I would like to hear to your point about the anxiety of not being connected to technology or having to be around people, or, finding that when the pandemic happened in 2020, when I tell you, a lot of us who we were in hog heaven, honey. We were like, yes, 6 feet apart when we went to the store.
Now, now I have my moments. I have my introverted moments where I do like being alone, but it switches. Like sometimes I'm an extrovert, sometimes I can be an introvert. So sometimes I don't like, and it may sound weird to you guys, but it's times where I've went down grocery store aisles and like, why is this person on the same aisle as me? Let me go on another aisle
No,
because
I'm like that for real. I'm like
no,
that.
I like that sometimes. Like, oh,
Okay.
why you on my aisle like it's my aisle?
It's so interesting. Okay, because I want to say something. I think
That's
Tara,
so funny.
I was born in DC, but I was a little girl around 7 years old when we moved to Tennessee, north of Memphis, up in the country, Tipton County, near Covington, on the dirt roads. Okay, Granddaddy still had our houses and gardens. My great uncle had chickens. People were still farming in 1972. Black farmers were alive and well in Tipton County. So I had an extreme experience of even growing up, of touching grass, being outside, because it was like, get outside. As soon as the sun came up, if you weren't going to school, as soon as you had breakfast, kids was outside. And because I was such a quiet bookworm, oftentimes when I was forced out the house, I would still try to find somewhere with a book to sit under a tree, like that, or sit on the porch. And sometimes they like, get off the porch, because they were forcing me to play with the other kids. Did y'all have those experiences of having to nurture social connectivity?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yeah. I had come from a family where all the grandkids and kids went to one house, and there were so many of us. And one time I remember telling my uncle my mom didn't send me with mittens, and he was like, mittens? Girl, you better put some socks on them hands and get outside. And I kept thinking, is this right? But now that I'm older, I'm like, thank you for telling me to do this. So I got outside and I felt, what the world felt like. I saw people. I was able to build those social relationships. And I think that's why kids may be feeling socially awkward right now, or, dealing with other people, or dealing with, high stress situations, because they're not in social situations other than school where they're told to be quiet.
Now, I did like going outside if I was kind of in a peaceful space. But like you said, when you're in the country, I don't know, in the deep rural, and everybody had back in the day 5 to 12 kids, and everybody during the summertime outside, because they don't put all the kids outside.
And you ate school lunches. They brought the park lunches.
Yes, all of that. Now, it really was interesting if I could be left alone. My sister said she used to get whoopings if she played with me too much, because I would start crying.
Yeah, I was very much introverted as a kid.
Yeah.
Very much. College made me like this. Like, because if you went to TSU, they'd be like, oh my God, I love your shoes. You look so nice. Like, they were so charismatic in college that it was like, I like this. I want to compliment people. And so now I'm like, I like you. You look so nice.
That's right.
College shaped my personality, but as a kid, I was I would get into stuff like my mom. Like, I love my mom, so if you tried to drop me off over somebody's house, I'd just cry for my mom. Like, I want my mama. Her name is Dorothy, and we're country, so we called her Dorothy. I want my Dorothy. I want my Dorothy.
Hush your mouth, girl. My mama was named Dorothy, and they sure called her Dorothy. And was I up under my mama? Yes. Now, I wasn't one of those little girls, though, that was, as they say, fast or trying to listen to grown people. I just don't want to be with all the kids outside.
I know this right. Me either.
Because they were doing, okay, now I don't know. Now, like I said, we were in the deep country. Folk were climbing trees, throwing frogs on each other. Just all the things that kids would do, jump off of roofs. It was just too much for me. And then, God forbid, the insects. OMG. So anyway, that was my childhood. But I think, though, I loved it later in life that I had a connectivity to the earth. that I knew what fresh air smelled like. To this day, I remember drinking out of my grandfather's well, and the best water I've ever drank. Even I've had the best bottled water, and I'm like, my granddaddy well tastes way better than this. But just having that also kind of shaped me as a person. Either I want extreme high society, high rises, or I want the quiet of the country, which kind of balances out my personality and my creativity and stuff like that. But some Southern Belles. Okay, do y'all ever consider yourselves to be Southern Belles?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What's a Southern Belle? And do you ever think of Black people being noted as being a Black Southern Belle, other than Whitley on Different World?
Oh yeah, there's an entire society of Southern Belles all up and through the Delta. Like, they're very classy, educated, affluent. They ooze beauty. Pretty girls always nice, so they love other pretty girls. Um, they do things for the community. Like, yeah, I do consider myself one. I don't know if that's what my mama would say, but
what about you, Shamika? Because you pretty look like you have leaned toward, like myself, when I got to college, that is when I did start opening up. And like you, I started like, hi, my name is Chrissy and I'm from Memphis. I would do that. People in high school and they would have never imagined me being that way. But you look like you've leaned in heavy into being a modern Southern Belle. Is that, do y'all even use that phrase now?
I do. I do, and I have, because I have great women that have shaped and molded the way. Like, I feel like the world is mine for the taking. I feel like God put us here to take advantage of every day, because a lot of people, I don't waste time. I really value my time. And so every day I wake up, I'm looking to improve myself. I was actually having a conversation with a friend. I think Southern Belles have a full life, meaning you take advantage of the day. If you want to get in shape, if you want to beautify yourself, if you want to
that's
dress
right.
nice, if you want to have a good career, if you want to hang around other people that are getting to their next level, if you want to do the work and work on whatever career goals you have, the world is yours for the taking. It's just as simple as a decision to move forward. So yes.
As I'm thinking about this, when it comes to, and like you said, all of us are involved in the entertainment industry in various ways, but I don't ever really see the Black Southern Belle leading stories. I did love Queen Sugar. I loved Queen Sugar. I even like Sinners because of that, but of course that was a period piece. But when I just think about who's really representing the Black Southern Belle of today,
Wow.
who
You
y'all
know
think?
what? I have this conversation all the time. I said the way, because I feel like the 90s was when we were thriving and we had so much representation, and I feel because I like reality. I remember, like, when I was growing up, they always tried to make reality TV stick and it never stuck.
Right.
Nowadays it's like one day I woke up in it, because we had like the Real World and stuff like
Yes.
that
Oh yes, that was
that
the
would come
leading
out, and it
show.
wouldn't, but it wouldn't stick. It would be like,
Right.
it would stay on for a little minute, it would disappear. They found a way to make reality TV stick, and now that's our representation.
You
And
know,
not so
and the way reality. Okay, and Tammy Rowan. Most people don't remember this. Of course, she ended up being on the Hollywood the Basketball Wives, but she was one of the first Black actors on reality TV. Tammy Rowan. She was on MTV's Real World. Do y'all remember her being on that? And did y'all know that MTV's from the end? They ended it.
What?
I think
Music
are you
television is
serious?
ending. Oh wow.
I know, end of an era, but that just kind of came across my
Maybe if
mind.
they would stop playing movies or Jersey people, the Jersey show took over. Like, they had the Jersey Shore this, Jersey Shore that, and then they had all these spin-offs. Maybe if they would actually put music back on it,
Music
maybe
television, yes. Do
come
you remember when
on.
MTV was music television? But going back to the way Shamika, they say, because you were right, there were a lot of what we call reality TV shows, but there's a lot of reality TV, everything from, but we'll get into that's another thing into TV production. But when they said there was a strike, I think it was in the early 2000s when there was a writer's strike. Um, and
Mm.
and so the union, I think it was several months before they resolved that strike. And it was during that time, it was cheaper to make reality shows because it didn't break the union rules, because technically you're not writing a show. You're just following the people around. So once they saw that it filled the gap, it was cheaper to make, then that's when reality TV came into being as a genre, really.
Mhm.
And like you said, and once one hit and then another hit, and then they started spin-offs and spin-offs and spin-offs till now it's like, and I'm afraid that's going to happen too when it comes to the new verticals. I do plan on doing some. I ain't gonna lie. I want to do some micro dramas, but they're nothing but miniature soap operas like your mom and daddy used to watch, Young and the Restless. Oh, and the new.
Right.
But I think that we're going to go through a time of just a lot of high drama, from reality TV shows to melodramatic TV shows and short reels that are going to just be over the top, let alone the headline news we live every day. But where can we as Southern Black women find our soft life? Now that's y'all new little word y'all be using, soft life.
Yeah, and that's what bothers me, because there's no all the representation of us shows drama,
Oh, yes.
divisiveness, and hatefulness. Like, we don't really
Woo.
have good representations. And then think about the young women growing up who don't have access to mentorship, who may grow
Yeah.
up in poverty, and all they see is reality shows. People, no disrespect to the music industry, but people rapping, and
Ratchetly.
yeah, they don't see any representation of what it looks like to be classy and elegant and things like that. So they think, oh, this is the only, and no disrespect to anybody, but I feel that if you show one side, you should show all. Because what is that saying to the world? If the world only sees us because we know who we are, but what is that saying to the world about who Black women are? Some people have never interacted with a Black person in their life, and all they can go by is what they see on TV. You don't have any, I don't know of any shows that show anybody that's like, like the like Claire Huxtable,
Yeah.
Whitley
Hmm.
Gilbert. Like, where is the representation? Like, I don't know of any shows like that.
And
You know,
if they
and
are, they're not accessible. They're on like CBS, places that we have moved away from, um,
I can't even
due
think.
to
Well, who's on
time.
I
CB?
mean, but where, like,
The
who is on
Neighborhood,
CBS?
Tashina Arnold is on The Neighborhood,
Okay,
and
okay.
she is
I like to
always
see
very
her.
fly and very good mother, good wife, not
Well, what you get? But
ratchet.
I wouldn't consider her a Southern Belle, though.
No, she's not. No, 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 no. I
Yeah,
retract. I
it's no
retract.
right. It's
I
no.
love her though. Now, mind
I
you,
love
I
her
love
too.
her. I love her realness. I love her solid representation as a Black woman for over 30 years. But I'm just thinking like a Southern Belle. Even when I think about, I'm really going through my mind of who. Now, of course, growing up, I definitely aging myself when Julia came out. That was a TV show that I liked, but she wasn't
Mhm.
representing the Southern Belle, of course. I loved when Diana Ross made it to television and film. Um,
Mhm.
she really spoke to me. Lola Falana, honey, Lola Falana.
Yes, Lola was
Woo!
beautiful.
And then even those who came out of the South who would end up like Eartha Kitt. I mean, like these are people who came out of the dirty South, like from the deep Delta, who,
Hmm.
as they went to Chicago and St. Louis and New York and made it to London and LA, that they really presented that wholesomeness but glam, like Diane Carroll, honey. Come on now.
Oh, I love me some,
Yes,
and
Come on,
she's smart.
Dynasty. Come
yes,
She
on. Give
dresses
it to
so
me.
yes,
well.
yes, she did.
Yeah, we don't really have. I don't know.
But we can,
The
but this is
closest I would say is Beyonce,
yeah, yeah,
but that's
Houston,
it.
Texas.
That Beyonce, but that's about it. Like, who else?
There
I don't
isn't. There's
know.
a girl off of Southern Charm, but there is so much drama around her
Yeah, I'm
on that
saying like
show.
we're
Yeah.
no, that's the thing. Like
No, there isn't one. I mean, like
without any drama,
we cannot
I can't name
concretely
one.
come up with anyone. No, I can't either.
And I would love for
Mm.
that to have a revival where we are telling our own stories and we're showing ourselves in all of our shape. Now, I did like
It sounds
hitting.
like a new show idea, Christy. Let
I
me know
hear a
when you
new show
start
I
it.
did too, honey.
Come
I hear.
Look,
through,
let me know when you
making
start it so I
notes.
can be on it.
Okay, hey,
Would
maybe
it
we can.
would it be reality? That would be good,
It
Hey,
Christy.
that
could
would
be.
be
It could
interesting.
document our lives and what we're working on. Yeah, it could be.
Mm,
Hmm.
wow. Do you subscribe, ladies, to
Look,
the
I'm
Soft
ready.
Life?
I do.
Yeah, I feel like we should have a soft life. We shouldn't have a hard one.
I subscribe to it. I don't
Yeah,
want to.
because we shouldn't have a hard life. And I think it's
No.
been
Yep.
so instilled in us that you have to suffer first. Why do I have to
Y'all,
suffer
y'all ain't
first?
about that struggle love. Y'all ain't about that.
No.
No.
No, ma'am.
And you know, struggle love. Why should you have to endure pain before reward? I think that's what we've been taught to do. You should go through something before you're rewarded. I've been through a lot, but why do we have to go? It's certain people that have had a great life. Like why should the trauma come first? And other people, other races of people, they don't have to prove I got it out the mud. They get to just
No.
be.
Yeah, where
Why
No.
did
do we
that
have to
come
prove?
from? True enough, well,
It
depending
came
on
from
what.
black women being single mothers and taking on a masculine energy and telling us as women that we had to go out and do it because some way it didn't work out between maybe them and their mate who they had kids with, and they may have had to struggle, and they gave us those experiences without asking our input. So we just kind of went with the whole flow of things, and that's really that late Gen X and that millennial kind of thing, and it just kind of trickle down to every other generation. It's just some kind of mindset that needs to be changed.
You know,
I think it's by design too, because you got to
it
think
Hmm.
is
about
by
media.
design. It
You
is
got to
by
think about
design.
media. What Christy just said, we don't have representation of what it looks like to be like. We look to the internet for solutions of what we think life should look like. We don't have real representation of
But
what
when
it
we did
actually.
have it, you just named all those wonderful, beautiful ladies. When
Oh
we did
yeah,
have it, like what did we do with it? It wasn't what we wanted. We continued to get more and more revealing. We continue to get more and more lazy in our pursuit
Now,
of being classy ladies.
in
So
the
somewhere in the
90s.
mix of it,
but honestly, that it's interesting.
yeah. Look at the
It's the
music.
late
Yes.
1990s. I mean, from if I'm looking at it from like a time capsule,
Hmm.
when black music was taken over, particularly black music
Hmm.
was taken over by corporate conglomerates.
There we go.
Okay, and I have to say that because we didn't have enough impact on television and film in the 90s and early 2000s to have had, of course, then they started funding a lot of what we call our urban and hood stories.
Hmm.
And instead of doing more Love Jones, woo, one of my favorite films of all time,
And
Jason
brown
Brown
sugars and
Sugar, all
basketball.
yes,
Love and basketball.
they
Yeah.
started making deliberate choices on the representation that they were willing to fund because we were not in a power position to fund our own music, our own projects to the world. I'll say it like that. Now, mind you, those of us here in the dirty down here in the Delta, we know we truly do get it out of the mud, and that we will sing and create if we don't have a million people watching, but it doesn't go beyond our city limits. Sometimes it doesn't, only our family and friends, or we could be like some people say Memphis famous or Huntsville famous. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
But nationally and internationally, like you said, Shamika. But I will say, while people talk about social media, that is the one equalizer that has happened, because now if I want, and record stores started drying up, so you didn't even have that anymore. But having the internet did start showing us these untapped talents that weren't getting love. Um, it's such a sharp. You just got to really. It's like with this AI thing, our Southern values, views of ourselves as women, as Black women, particularly in the South, we have to feed the beast so it can produce something that looks like us. Whether that's AI, whether it's television, whether it's film, whether it's music. Because if we don't control the narrative, they're gonna tell their version of the story. That's for sure.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. And I'm liking what Shamika was saying as far as getting back to the, like, what's your plan, Shamika? Like, I hear your show and everything. What's your
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
She was saying, what's your plan? Like, what do you plan on doing to
To get
get
us
back to that?
feeling like, kind of like I said previously, filling in spaces where I feel they don't exist. So having conversations. So
Mhm,
the Love, Lust, Sacrifice series, I'm
mhm,
talking about everything about love, lust, and sacrifice. One of the
mm,
panels we're going to be discussing the spirit of lust. So one of the people
Oh
I want to get
Lord.
on the on the panel is the health department,
mm,
pastor, because we got to talk about these.
mhm.
We got to talk about the things that people aren't talking about, which are STDs, diseases,
Yes,
divorces. We're
yes.
talking about surface level. My one of my
Mhm,
friends actually attended one of my first panels. She said, "Sis, you got to give them meat and potatoes." So we're going to get to the meat and
mhm,
potatoes of it all. We're going to get to the conversations that people are avoiding and make them face themselves, because go where you taking me to Applebee's and get me married. You not, we having conversations about who taking people to Applebee's, where y'all going out to eat. We ain't even got past the first date yet, and let alone let alone you talking a marriage. You talking about a lifetime commitment to somebody who you don't know at all.
mhm,
You're talking about having, like, because my generation and generations, after, well, our generation and generations that are coming after us, we got this
mhm.
whole sneaky link stuff, and I didn't know what it's like when I first
She
heard
said,
it.
"What's that?"
That's what I
I can
said. I
tell.
said, "What is a sneaky link?" I
I
thought it
just
was
tell
like,
you said that though, Shamika. I just listening to you. I
I
could tell
was
you like, what's
like, a
that?
sneaky link. What does that mean? So I thought it meant cheating with one person.
Mhm,
It
mhm.
means messing around with whoever. It's just somebody you sneaking around with. It could be multiple people.
I
Like,
was
and
gonna
it's
say old school cheating, but no, this is just I'm out here.
this ain't even a relationship. They not
This is
even
It's
what
really.
we
not.
call the hookup.
Mm,
Yeah,
Like,
this is them hooking up. So they embrace
mm,
when you embracing that, but now
mm.
people, because not out of excitement, but out of fear.
Fear.
People are fearful of commitment nowadays. So we want to have those conversations. We want to bring the because if you can't
Mm.
identify the cause of it, how can you begin to heal? So
Can,
mhm.
we're
okay,
gonna get to the meat and potatoes of it all with
okay.
these panel
Can I
discussions.
can I explore something? Because
Of course.
I think that I am an interesting case study. I really am, because, as like I said, I've never been married, no children, all the things. And for the world who listen, I am a cisgender heterosexual, because they be like going through all the different
Oh, trying to figure out why.
scientific. You gotta say, oh boy. Anyway, but with that being said, I uh I have a different view about love and relationship, and I think that, which was always challenging for me, because I did grow up in the South with very traditional values about love, values about relationships and family, about marriage, about the sanctity of marriage, about the woman's body, very conservative views, religious views, all wrapped into good home training and just, high morals. So for me not pers- to go the way of the template, which was for me straight out of high school or definitely after college to get married, really was almost an anomaly. Now, of course,
Mm.
since then, a lot of, the quiet women like myself who did not get married in our generation, one things about us, maybe that's another reason we stayed to ourselves, because in our time, we had our reasons, and there's individualized reasons why many of us chose not to get married. And we were also in a generation where everybody was still getting married. So you weren't allowed to be a part of the communal experience as a woman.
Mm.
So just imagine if we were still very Afrocentric in the having the village, and when women got married, and they're, the what is those ceremonial rites of passages, and part of that is becoming a wife and becoming a mother. And if you don't accept that and embrace that within the African culture, the traditional Black culture, there's a level of isolation that you talked about earlier, Shamika, that happens that is never discussed. And even if you're still a part of the community, particularly if you're still going to church, if you're still, being a part of Black culture, Black school and Black society, but you don't check all the boxes, there's a level of isolation and even, I don't want to say it like this, but not excommunication, but you don't get invited to everything. You don't get involved in everything. You're not told everything. And there's a level of love-hate that sometimes people have as we journey through life. And if you didn't do that, there are people who there's an automatic mistrust from women and men. Even in your early 20s, definitely by the time you hit your 30s. And if you ain't done it by 40, in my generation, it was, basically you've been you're shoved into a space. Now, my saving grace was the fact that I ended up in the entertainment industry. So I got a longer pass. And there's also fallacies that come with that, because, everybody has a viewpoint of those who live in the entertainment industry, work in the entertainment industry, to our belief systems, our lifestyles, and all the things. And they're truly, and I'm gonna come on now, Diddy, other thing, but it is baked into the culture, it is baked into the industry. But then there's some of us who just do this because this is our craft, this is our skill set, and we love it. So you end up not being invited to the parties or to the house. So there's a lot of singular things that happen in Black culture. So when we have these conversations, for me, I'm just being honest, about love and relationship from a Black culture perspective, particularly steeped in Southern tradition, I have mixed feelings and emotions about it, because we don't give enough space for the variety of the lived Black experience when it comes to love and relationships, and how it doesn't always have to be the extremes. Because I've loved deeply. I've had an amazing, if honest, I've had amazing lovers or people who loved me, not all sexual, but 90%. But anyway, who deeply loved Christy, but it didn't lead us to the altar, nor in many cases, nor was it desired. But I can never have that real conversation because it doesn't fit the boxes. I just dropped that in because, hey, we getting saucy.
That is so funny. The way you tried to whisper that on the podcast is
because the truth is can I honestly say that keeping it 1,000? There are certain men who I had the pleasure of becoming deeply connected to that I can't imagine if I had been married for 30 something years, that I would have never been able to meet that person or experience that person or love that person or get, you know what I'm saying? Like, wow. I can't imagine not having the certain way I've lived and chosen to live my life, that if I had committed, because I was asked several times, because I grew up in the Church of God in Christ, I was proposed to early on and could have said yes and been in ministry and all the things, I was groomed to be a preacher's wife, but I didn't. Yeah, I was groomed to be that, like birth out churches and all that kind of stuff. And though I went to a Christian university and was in, gospel music, I still found a way to circumvent the template. But it also came at the cost of community. And at the same token, were there a couple of people that I loved and were like, okay, I'll wash your clothes. I'll find out how to cook.
Right.
I'll figure it out.
That's what Yvette said on Baby Boy. She said, I'm a cook, I'm a clean.
I'm a cook, I'm a clean. And
Uh-huh.
honestly, real story, true story, there was this guy I was all the way sprung on. I was really loving him deeply. We had a beautiful connection, great conversation, because I'm a sapiosexual. Look it up, y'all. Sapiosexual. And he was too. So we were like, oh, to this day, I love him. I mean, we love each other, just a forever love, right? However, I was so sprung, and I was late 20s, early 30s. I think I was early 30s, late 20s, early 30s. And I had come back to Memphis. I'd been living in Detroit, all the things, all the things, all the things. And I said that to him one time, and he was such a career-oriented person. And most of the men that get involved with are entrepreneurial minded or in the industry, things of that nature. So they also live outside the lines. So when I said that something like that to him, he said, "What?" He looked at me like, first of all, why are you saying that? And second of all, he said, "That's what a housekeeper's for."
Wow.
That's what they for.
He said, "I don't need you for that."
That's what they for.
That's what they for. He said, "I don't need you to do that." That's what a housekeeper's for.
Wow.
So when I met a man that said that to me, and that I started meeting men who like to cook and could cook better than women, I was like, Lord, you already know what I like. Okay. Hush your mouth.
That's a good conversation
Yeah. There's a lot of Black people
about people enjoying being single.
because no one, and
I'm sorry.
it was really hard in the church world because if you weren't married and you would end up in a singles ministry by default. But the whole singles ministry was structured on getting people married.
Well, I've been married a couple of times, so I came out of college getting married and was married 11 years, and then that didn't work out. And no bad to him or me. He just really liked women, and I didn't want to stand in his way of conquering them all. I didn't want to be the reason his life journey didn't work out.
It's the sarcasm for me. Not conquering them all. Wow.
Right. So, and I married up both times. So to me, it's like, I think we deserve a soft life. Like it's not a new language to me. I believe that love exists, but if it doesn't work out, I don't hold any hard feelings because we only get one life. I don't want to spend my life, or I don't want you to spend your life with someone who does not completely hold a space that's so safe for you that you say, I'm willing to give up all those other potential safe places and just be here. So I can see why, right? I can see why, people are single and they enjoy it because it's safe. It is safe. You don't have to put yourself out there. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. And then when you are ready, when you do feel complete, when you do feel this is the time, you're so perfectly okay with you being in a safe place. You're open to it. And I think that that's one thing that, I may have missed out on because I've always in my adult life been married. So I think that I missed out on those moments. Now I have had them because, going from a divorce to like 4 years and then dating somebody, I did have that time, but most of the time I was working. So I worked on myself, but my career was my focus. It wasn't like, I'm going to go make myself this great woman. It was just like, you know what, if it happens, it happened. I'm just going to be great. I'm just going to be great. I think that's where a lot of people are. They're like, I'm great and I'm waiting on my other great. And then we're just going to be great together. So, and I think internet makes it easier because you can meet people from across the world now. You don't just have to date the guy in the church or down the street.
But what if they lie? The internet breeds deception too.
People breed deception.
That's true.
The internet,
the tool does not. No,
they're liars. They're liars anyway. It doesn't have anything to do with it. Like, they don't have, and a lot of people lie for the sake of one, not hurting you, or two, to get you.
Ooh, girl, say that again. And you don't need the internet for that, baby. Hey, what's your name?
That's right. Hilarious.
And that's the same thing the pastor and his wife are going to be talking about, how they got through all those things. those conversations, I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, everybody has got into a relationship with somebody where they haven't told something all the way, or they omitted to tell something altogether. And then they
Yes.
wait until the relationship go, and then the relationship go, and now you are emotionally invested and cannot dream.
That's really what happened in their situation.
Hmm.
She was wanting to go to the military, and he
Hmm.
married her, and then he did some things, but by that time she was already invested because he did all this stuff to, whatever she wanted. Like, she could say, "Oh,
Hmm.
I want this dress." Now she got the gift on her desk at work because they work together. He did
Hmm.
everything to get her invested. And a year later, she said it became hell. She was like, it was
Right.
pure D hell. But by that
Hmm.
time, your heart is in it. And you like, why is this person treating me the way that they're? So you're absolutely right. The people are
And
deceptive.
honestly, that's some old school loving right there. If we got to tell the truth, that is when I would say that kind of predatory loving relationship stuff really kicked off in the late 70s, early 80s, where black men were on the prowl because there was a societal breakdown in relationships. Not that men ain't never just not hunted women like this, but it became a sport within the black community for a man to see how many women he could get, as opposed to generation before, they were like, I saw Miss Mary sitting on the at the corner store, and she my wife. You know what I'm saying? That was the
Hmm.
language in the conversation. But there became a time, which may be linked to the great migration, emptying the South, moving across the country with people you ain't know, and shucks, like you said, you went away to school and became a whole new person. Can you imagine somebody who was just sharecropping and they don't went to a big city and they see
Oh
all
yeah, it
these
was
people?
different back in the day. At least on social media, you can track people down. Back in the day, the man left and never came home. You didn't know where he was.
Exactly. And he could have left several times, because I ain't gonna tell you, but my daddy did it. Okay, come on now.
Not I ain't gonna tell you, but I'm gonna tell you.
No, but honestly, that's how my mom met my dad, and she ended up realizing that he had had previous relationships that he had never finished,
Oh
but
my
he had
goodness.
moved on. And that was something that was very common in the 60s and 70s. But I do know, but when it got to the 70s and 80s, to me, it had been perfected, where they were like, okay, she likes green, she like orange sherbet, she wears black on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? They would study you, and whatever you said, it was your wish was their command.
Yes, it was. And they still like that. They have not changed. They are amazing beings, but they are crafty.
Yeah, they crafty.
They crafty.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is that Shamika, you like, well, what do we do in our generation? You have
That's
to learn how
interesting.
to just cut to the chase, because one of the things that started happening to me in my early 20s, and honestly, if I will say one way I started, I probably preventing myself from having those type of relationships where, that led to coupledom and marriage, is I started asking honest, deep, probing questions. And I'll never forget, I was living in Detroit, early 20s, and I was like crushing on this one guy who was kind of in the same circle with this other dude. So I didn't understand why the dude who was in the circle started pursuing me.
Hmm.
Okay, you hear what I'm saying? Like, if you have a
Hmm.
group of friends, you looking at this one, batting your eye at him, but a whole nother dude coming to you, and everybody already know Christy like that dude, and
Hmm.
the other dude peeping it starts pursuing me. So I said, so what you doing? I mean, I just wanted to know, like, so what are we doing? If and I was so direct, and I was quiet, much quieter than I am now, sweet, all like that. But I'm like, what's the play? Am I being played? Am I being, it's like, was this let's talk about School Days. Okay. I hadn't even seen the movie, but School Days is a prime example of how that one character played by, y'all know who I'm talking about, had Tisha Campbell going out like that to prove her love.
Sure did. He sure did.
Honey,
He
wait,
sure
look, you're
did.
not gonna catch, like they said, you ain't gonna put me in no trick bag. But that's the kind of mental stuff that was being played in the definitely the 80s, and by the 90s, it was getting so solidly perfected. And I can't even I do feel for your generation, because you all probably do struggle with the ability to be confrontational. in a safe way, because now guys, from my understanding, snap. Where if you look at some of our 90 movies where the girl was pushing on the guy and slapping him and going to pick finger, y'all might end up in the ditch somewhere now.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a different time.
But I do think though, I'm gonna jump in here and play devil's advocate for the
Come on, jump, honey, jump. Double dutch.
It's not the guys. I mean, like, they are a little cringe worthy, but the millennial, they are cringe worthy. But I think it's the older guys that prey on like the mindset of hoping that everybody's a city girl. There is a very small margin who are amazing, a very small margin who are very amazing and who really want to have relationships and really want to be there and really want to be in love. And I think they're in fear as well. I think they kind of shy away. They're those introverts. They're the ones who are quietly sitting in the room and mulling over who's going to be the best person to be with. And they're looking at the same thing on TV we're watching. So they may be in reaction mode.
Right. Well, it's definitely, I know our girl, I don't know if she had to jump out or not, but one of the things that I want to say before we wrap up is the fact that as we move into this modern love era, when it comes to being Black women in the South, learning new ways to enjoy a soft life, what would be some of your advice?
My thing would be honest with yourself. Don't have higher standards for your mate than you have for yourself. I think having an understanding that everyone is different. You meet people where they are. Try to clear up some of that trauma and those kinds of things that have absolutely nothing to do with your current relationship in those old, let's just say, sneaky links. And be honest with yourself. Everyone wants somebody some kind of way, even if you want them temporarily or permanently. You want them. You want that companionship. So I think that's one of the things that we have to remember in the future is to always meet people where they are and understand that love, it can't be defined. And when it's unconditional, you really don't pay a lot of attention to the faults. The same way the pastor and his wife have been married 30 plus years.
Yeah. Well, I know even now at this stage and age, in full disclosure, I'm finally at a place where I feel I could peacefully engage in a long-term love relationship. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but because I think I have whatever I was internally working through, like you say, that you had a couple of marriages, but you allow yourself that space of healing. And even in the way I lived my life, I'm finally to a space and place where I can relax, because I was actually, when I look back at it, I married my career. I didn't know I had married my career, but I had totally committed my every moment to my dream of being a radio personality and all like that. Because once I got into it, I wanted to see how far I could go. And then 20, 30 years passed. It's like, okay. But I think now with those lived experiences, when I have these candid conversations, that's why she says it's like telling stories. There are so many different chapters in my life, and I see where we are heading oftentimes. And as a young woman, I really want to encourage young women just to, number one, love you, be totally satisfied with who you are. And
can you tell them how to do that, Christy? That's the thing. They hear that so much, but they don't know the steps to do that. It sounds so easy, but when they're looking in the mirror and the person back at them is the most critical of them on the earth, how do they love themselves? How is that possible? How do we communicate that? How do we tell them that's a thing that they can actually accomplish? What does that look like?
Okay, well, I mean, since you put me on the carpet, I will give you some of the things that I did, because one size does not fit all. So for me, when it came to loving myself, not just self-care, getting your hair and nails done, which is extremely important, going to get your mammogram, getting your annual PAPs and all of that, Those are things that are mandatory for in your mental health, getting your therapist on all that. But for me, to love myself first and foremost is putting those things on the calendar. Everything I just listed, putting those, making sure that you are a priority. I used to always make February, the month of February, as soon as, particularly when I was working in corporate radio, as soon as those insurance benefits kicked at the beginning of the year, the entire month of February, I had already booked all of my doctor's appointments, everything that I wanted done. And I always made sure that I kept a therapist or at least access to one. That was part of my personal self-love, is because I knew I was still working through childhood issues and traumas and just the rub of daily life and just, rubber hitting the road. So I made sure that was an investment that I made into myself. The other thing is that is how I showed love to Christy. Like, okay, number one, the month of February, you love yourself. Like, and the way you love yourself is you take care of the human body, and you make sure you have a therapist as a part of your therapy, your insurance. That was that came in my late 20s, early 30s. After that, the harder part of me loving myself was establishing and reinforcing personal boundaries. Haven't been raised to be a people pleaser, haven't been groomed to be a servant of the people within the church environment, where oftentimes your very being, life, gift, spirituality is to be of service to others. So there's not a beginning, a middle, and an end. Like your whole life is the church, or if you get outside the church, it's nonprofit work, or it's just serving the community and always being nice, always taking the high road.
Yes, always saying sorry, right?
Always being the one that made the peace, even though you were the one that was wronged. When I, in my 30s, said enough is enough of people crossing the boundary, not even because people can do what they're going to do in the space across the way. And, but it was when I would be so accommodative to those who were infringing on my personhood or selfhood. And I started giving voice to, you're crossing the boundary, you're infringing on my space, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical. When I began to speak up for myself, that was the that was the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
And second, that was me loving me. This is how I did it, speaking up for myself. Letting those words out of my throat. Now, I have to confess, when I first started letting them out, it was volcanoes. And then I started realizing I had to learn how to still articulate myself without having to blow up. That was self-love. And that's why the therapist is important. But then the third part was, once I was able to do that, because all of that was claiming myself, was having a sense of personhood in this big old world. Now, what do you do once you declare independence? Once people are outside, up off of you, they no longer crossing and trespassing. Then the third way I had to show love to myself was really to sit within myself and determine what is the life I want to live. And then begin to do. And I believe I have a set of principles that I go by called Living Life Principles, which speaks to being able to, be self-determined. Like, what is your name? Like, what do you call yourself? What do you answer to in this world? The other one is understanding, as a part of my living life fully, within this freedom I've declared, that God has purpose for me, and that every breath that he gives me is a love letter to me to keep on living and to do well in this world. Then the third one, being able to, with all this life that God has given me and every breath that I take, God is like, oh yeah, girl, you go, girl. Then what does he want me to do? This was me loving myself, being able to come to grips with why I am here on the planet. And that came through the form of being able to identify what I wanted to do, because all the other 20 some years in the early 30s, ideas of what other people wanted. But once I declared my independence, reinforced my boundaries in an act of self-love, I then had to build a life that I loved. And that came through the words that I spoke to myself. That's why I'm deep into affirmations. I had to literally build myself from within through my words. And then I had to take action on the words I was speaking that I said. And that comes through working through the internal fears and doing the work. And
That's perfect.
that was how this. So the life that I've lived and I've built has been a love letter to myself. So now I feel like I could share who I am with someone else at this point. But of course, yes, someone could have been having a front row seat to that. But I opted out, and probably to the wisdom, because I probably would have, also left a couple of relationships, and I guess I did, because I could have still been the ones I was in.
Right.
But that is how, to me, is number one, being very, very clear on understanding, prioritizing yourself, making sure that your physical body, your mental body, your spiritual life is prioritized, putting it on the calendar, taking time off, literally making it on the calendar, and then being able to speaking up for yourself is an act of love. And then once you reinforce those boundaries, that is self-love. And then more importantly, once you establish your independence, then actually build the life you want. And that's life
beautiful.
of love. Yeah.
That's it right there, Christy.
Okay,
We did that.
So
they know now.
They know now, baby. They know now. Okay, you got anything before we go?
No, I had a great time. Thank y'all for letting me join you.
Yes.
This is my first time, so thank you.
Y'all keeping it saucy, because the secret sauce is who? You.
That's right.
All right. And shout out to Shamika Braxter, and we appreciate her bringing her light and love. And we will make sure we talk more about grown woman, true soft. We're going to be that soft life, y'all. These Southern roots, this modern love, it's all wrapped up in you. All right. Thank you. Y'all keep it saucy.
And